In 2004, Japanese researchers Tsunemi Kubodera and Kyoichi Mori accomplished something that scientists had been trying to do for over a century. They captured the first ever photographs of a living giant squid in its natural habitat. For over 150 years, we had been studying dead specimens washed up on beaches and dissecting corpses from sperm whale stomachs. But when those first images came back from the deep, scientists realized something shocking. Almost everything we thought we knew about the giant squid was wrong. You are watching Science Revealed, and today we are diving into the truth about Architeuthis ducks, the legendary giant squid. From the myths of the Kraken to cutting-edge research happening right now in 2025, we are about to discover why this creature is even more fascinating and mysterious than anyone ever imagined. Let me start with the most persistent myth about giant squids, the idea that they are aggressive monsters that attack ships and drag sailors to their deaths. Ancient Norse legends spoke of the Kraken, a creature so massive it could wrap its tentacles around entire ships. In 1861, the French gunboat Alecton encountered a massive squid in the Atlantic Ocean. The crew fired rifles and harpoons, and the creature fought back before escaping. The captain's report described an aggressive monster that seemed to deliberately attack the ship. These stories shaped our understanding for generations, but here's what we now know from actual scientific observation. Giant squids are not aggressive at all. They are remarkably shy and elusive creatures that actively avoid contact with anything larger than their typical prey. When Kubodera and Mori finally photographed that first living giant squid, they did not find an aggressive monster. They found an animal that immediately tried to flee from their equipment. The squid only became entangled in their bait line by accident while hunting for food. Subsequent observations have confirmed this behavior. Giant squids are ambush predators that hunt smaller fish and squid in the deep ocean. They have no interest in attacking large objects like boats or submarines. So why did sailors report attacks? The answer is simple. They were seeing squid in distress. When a giant squid is injured or caught in fishing equipment, it thrashes violently trying to escape. To observers on a ship, this desperate struggle looked like an aggressive attack. The crew of the Alecton was literally shooting and harpooning the squid. Of course it fought back. That was not aggression. That was self-defense. Now let us talk about size, because this is where things get really interesting. For decades, scientists believed that giant squids could grow up to 60 feet long from head to tentacle tip. Museum displays and scientific papers cited this figure repeatedly. But here's the problem. That measurement was based on specimens that had been dead for days or even weeks before they were measured. And dead giant squids stretch. A lot. When a giant squid dies, its body undergoes rapid decomposition. The connective tissues break down, and the tentacles, which are already incredibly elastic, can stretch to almost double their living length. This is especially true if the specimen has been floating in the ocean for days before washing ashore. Scientists measuring these stretched-out corpses were getting wildly inflated size estimates. In 2013, researchers published a comprehensive analysis of every reliably measured giant squid specimen in scientific collections worldwide. They found that the largest confirmed giant squid, measured while alive or freshly dead, was approximately 43 feet long. Most adults are actually between 30 and 40 feet from head to tentacle tip. This means that for over a century, we overestimated the size of giant squids by as much as 30 to 40%. The real creatures are still absolutely massive, but they are not quite the 60-foot monsters of legend. And here is another size-related misconception. For years, scientists believed that giant squids and colossal squids were roughly the same size, just different species. But research conducted between 2020 and 2024 has revealed something surprising. While giant squids are longer when you measure from head to tentacle tip, colossal squids are actually much heavier. The largest confirmed colossal squid weighed approximately 100 pounds, while the largest giant squid weighed closer to 600 pounds. The colossal squid is nearly twice as heavy despite being shorter overall. This difference tells us something crucial about how these two species evolved. Giant squids developed length for reach and speed. Their long tentacles allow them to snatch prey from a distance, and their streamlined bodies let them move quickly through the water. Colossal squids, on the other hand, evolved in the frigid waters of Antarctica, where everything moves slower. They did not need speed. They needed raw power. Their shorter, thicker bodies and their tentacles armed with rotating hooks make them ambush predators designed to overpower prey through sheer strength. Let me tell you about the giant squid's eyes, because this is where nature gets truly bizarre. Giant squids have the largest eyes of any animal that has ever lived on Earth. Each eye is approximately 11 inches in diameter, about the size of a dinner plate. That is bigger than the eyes of blue whales, which can weigh over 200 tons. It is bigger than the eyes of any dinosaur we have ever discovered. For comparison, a human eye is about 1 inch in diameter. A giant squid's eye is 11 times larger. But why would a creature need eyes that enormous? For years, scientists assumed it was simply because giant squids live in very dark water and needed large eyes to capture as much light as possible. But research published in 2012 by Swedish biologist Dan Erik Nilsson and his team revealed something far more specific and far more fascinating. Those massive eyes are not just for seeing in low light. They are specifically designed to detect sperm whales. Giant squids hunt in the Mesopelagic zone, between 600 and 3,000 feet below the surface. At these depths, there is virtually no sunlight, but many creatures produce bioluminescence. When a large predator like a sperm whale swims through these depths, it disturbs bioluminescent plankton and other small organisms, creating a glowing outline around its body. The giant squid's enormous eyes can detect this bioluminescent glow from over 400 feet away, giving them enough warning to escape before the whale gets close enough to attack. This discovery completely changed how we understand the relationship between giant squids and sperm whales. We used to think that sperm whales actively hunted down giant squids, chasing them through the water in dramatic battles. But the truth is far less dramatic and far more strategic. Sperm whales rely on echolocation to find their prey in the darkness. They emit clicking sounds and listen for the echoes. Giant squids with their enormous eyes can see the bioluminescent trail of an approaching whale long before the whale's sonar detects them. So most of the time, the squid simply swims away and the whale never even knows it was there. The battles we have imagined happening constantly in the deep ocean are actually quite rare. Now let us talk about what happens when a giant squid does not manage to escape. Scientists have examined thousands of sperm whales, and many bear circular scars on their heads and bodies. These are sucker marks from giant squid tentacles. Some whales are covered in dozens or hundreds of these scars, but these scars do not prove that giant squids are aggressive attackers. They prove the opposite. When a sperm whale catches a giant squid, the squid fights for its life. It wraps its tentacles around the whale's head, trying to escape. The suction cups lined with sharp rings dig into the whale's skin, leaving permanent scars. But the squid is not trying to kill the whale. It is trying to get away. Almost always, the whale wins. The giant squid's anatomy is stranger than its behavior. Let us start with its blood. Giant squid blood is blue. Actually, physically blue. This is because their blood uses copper-based hemocyanin to transport oxygen instead of iron-based hemoglobin. Hemocyanin is more efficient in cold, low-oxygen environments, but it is extremely sensitive to temperature changes. This is why giant squids are restricted to specific depths and temperatures. They cannot survive in warm surface waters because their blood stops working properly. This is also why every attempt to keep a giant squid alive in captivity has failed. The giant squid's beak is another marvel of evolution. It is made of chitin, the same material that forms insect exoskeletons, but it is one of the hardest organic materials ever studied. The beak needs to be incredibly strong because it is the only hard structure in the giant squid's entire body. Everything else, the mantle, the arms, the tentacles, is soft tissue. The beak is embedded in a mass of muscle and surrounded by tissue that graduates from extremely hard at the tip to extremely soft at the base. This gradient allows the squid to bite and tear prey without damaging its own soft body. Researchers studying giant squid beaks have discovered something remarkable. The gradient of hardness in the beak is so precisely engineered that material scientists are now trying to replicate it for use in robotics and prosthetics. Nature spent millions of years perfecting this design, and we are only now beginning to understand how it works. Let me tell you about one of the most disturbing aspects of giant squid biology: their reproduction. Female giant squids have been found carrying egg masses containing up to 4 million eggs. 4 million. But here's the horrifying part. Scientists believe that female giant squids die shortly after laying their eggs. They do not care for their young. They do not protect the eggs. They simply release millions of eggs into the ocean and then die. The baby squids, called paralarvae, hatch completely alone and must immediately fend for themselves. Out of those 4 million eggs, only a tiny fraction will survive to adulthood. Most will be eaten by predators within days or weeks of hatching. This is nature at its most brutal and most efficient. Giant squids compensate for their extremely low survival rate by producing an absolutely massive number of offspring. It is a numbers game. Release 4 million eggs, and maybe, just maybe, a handful will survive to reproduce and continue the species. We still do not know where giant squids go to reproduce. Despite decades of research and hundreds of specimens examined, no one has ever found a giant squid breeding ground. We have found pregnant females. We have found freshly hatched paralarvae, but we have never found the actual location where they mate and lay their eggs. This is one of the great unsolved mysteries of marine biology. Some scientists believe they reproduce in extremely deep water, possibly near hydrothermal vents. Others think they might migrate to specific underwater canyons or trenches. But as of 2025, we simply do not know. There is something else we got wrong about giant squids. For years, scientists classified all giant squids as a single species, Architeuthis ducks. Specimens from the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian Ocean, and everywhere in between were all considered the same species with minor regional variations. But genetic analysis conducted between 2015 and 2023 has revealed that this might not be accurate. While the genetic differences are subtle, there is evidence that giant squids from different ocean basins may actually be separate species that have not interbred for millions of years. This discovery has enormous implications. It means that instead of one globally distributed species of giant squid, there might be 3, 4, or even more distinct species, each adapted to specific ocean regions. Some of these species might be significantly larger or smaller than others. They might have different hunting strategies, different depths they prefer, different prey they target. We have been treating giant squids as a single homogeneous group, when they might actually be a complex family of related but distinct species. Here is another misconception. Many people assume that because giant squids have huge eyes and live in dark water, they must have excellent vision. But research published in 2018 revealed something surprising. Giant squid eyes are optimized for detecting movement and contrast, specifically bioluminescent light against darkness, but they are actually terrible at seeing fine details. Their vision is probably similar to looking through a very grainy, low-resolution camera. They can detect large, moving shapes from great distances, but they cannot see details clearly. This explains why giant squids rely so heavily on their tentacles for hunting. Those two long feeding tentacles are lined with sensory cells that can detect vibrations in the water with incredible precision. When a giant squid hunts, it does not rely primarily on vision. It feels for movement. It detects the subtle pressure changes caused by a fish swimming nearby. Then it strikes, extending those long tentacles at incredible speed to grab the prey. Only then do the shorter arms, which are stronger and more muscular, pull the prey toward the beak to be consumed. The speed of a giant squid's tentacle strike is genuinely terrifying. High-speed footage captured in 2019 showed that giant squid feeding tentacles can extend at speeds of up to 30 feet per second. That is faster than a professional boxer's punch, faster than a rattlesnake's strike. The prey does not even have time to react before it is caught. This incredible speed is possible because of the unique structure of the tentacles, which use both muscle contractions and a spring-loaded mechanism similar to the way a chameleon's tongue works. Let us talk about depth. For decades, scientists believed that giant squids lived exclusively in the Mesopelagic zone, between 600 and 3,000 feet deep. But in 2012, Japanese researchers captured video footage of a giant squid hunting at 3,000 feet. Then in 2019, the Five Deeps expedition captured footage of what appeared to be a giant squid at over 5,000 feet in the Indian Ocean. These discoveries forced us to reconsider the giant squid's depth range. They can venture much deeper when hunting or migrating. Some researchers believe different age groups might prefer different depths. Younger individuals might stay in shallower waters where food is more abundant, while older individuals venture deeper where they face less competition. Now let me tell you about the most recent breakthrough in giant squid research. In 2024, researchers successfully analyzed the genome of the giant squid for the first time. What they found was shocking. The giant squid has one of the most complex genomes ever sequenced, with over 2.7 billion base pairs. Nearly 50% consists of transposable elements, also called jumping genes. These are sections of DNA that can copy themselves and move to different locations in the genome. No one knows why the giant squid genome has such a high proportion of jumping genes. Some scientists believe these might be key to the giant squid's ability to adapt to different ocean conditions. Others think they might be related to the development of the squid's extremely complex nervous system. Giant squids have the largest brain of any invertebrate, with a distributed network of nerve clusters in each arm, allowing the arms to operate semi-independently from the central brain. Here is something most people do not realize. Despite over 150 years of scientific study, we have never observed a living giant squid feeding in the wild. We have seen them swimming. We have seen them trying to escape from bait lines. We have even seen them hunting, with tentacles extended searching for prey. But we have never actually witnessed the moment when a giant squid catches and consumes a fish or smaller squid. Every piece of information we have about their diet comes from examining stomach contents of dead specimens, or from analyzing the chemical composition of their tissues to determine what they have been eating. This gap in our knowledge is genuinely frustrating for marine biologists. We can infer what they eat and how they eat based on their anatomy and on partially digested prey found in their stomachs. But we cannot say with absolute certainty how they hunt in real time. Do they lurk motionless, waiting for prey to swim close? Do they actively patrol their territory, searching for food? Do they use their bioluminescent lure organs, which some scientists believe they possess, to attract prey? We do not know. Not yet. The impact of giant squids on ocean ecosystems is another area where we have been completely wrong. For years, scientists assumed that giant squids were relatively rare creatures living in small, isolated populations scattered across the global ocean. But research conducted between 2018 and 2024 using environmental DNA, tiny fragments of genetic material that organisms shed into the water, has revealed that giant squids are far more common than we thought. Samples taken from ocean water across the Pacific and Atlantic have shown giant squid DNA in locations where scientists never expected to find them. This suggests that giant squid populations are much larger and much more widely distributed than previous estimates indicated. Some marine biologists now believe that giant squids might be one of the most abundant large predators in the deep ocean. If this is true, it completely changes our understanding of deep ocean food webs. Giant squids are not rare oddities. They are keystone predators playing a crucial role in their ecosystems. Think about what this means. If giant squids are far more common than we realize, they are consuming enormous quantities of fish and smaller squid every single day. They are also serving as a primary food source for sperm whales and other deep-diving predators. The energy flowing through giant squid populations might be a critical link connecting surface waters, where primary production occurs, to the deep ocean, where most of that energy is consumed. Let me tell you about one final misconception that persists to this day. Many people believe that giant squids are immortal or nearly immortal, capable of living for hundreds of years in the deep ocean. This myth probably stems from the fact that we have found some truly enormous specimens and from the general mystery surrounding these creatures. But scientific analysis tells a very different story. By examining growth rings in giant squid statoliths, tiny calcium carbonate structures in their inner ears similar to the ear bones of fish, researchers have determined that giant squids probably live for only 5 to 7 years. That is it. These massive creatures grow incredibly quickly, reaching their full adult size in just a few years, and then they reproduce and die. This rapid growth rate requires enormous amounts of energy. A giant squid needs to consume approximately 10% of its body weight in food every single day just to maintain its metabolism and continue growing. For a 600-pound squid, that means eating 60 pounds of fish and smaller squid daily. This voracious appetite explains why giant squids have such large eyes and such sensitive tentacles. They need to detect and capture prey constantly. They cannot afford to miss opportunities. The question of whether giant squids are intelligent is hotly debated in marine biology. Their brains are large for invertebrates, and their nervous system is remarkably complex. Some researchers believe giant squids might be capable of learning and memory. Others are more skeptical, arguing that their large brains are primarily dedicated to processing visual information and coordinating their complex musculature. The truth is, we do not have enough data to answer this definitively. To truly understand giant squid intelligence, we would need to observe them in the wild over extended periods. But the technology to conduct this kind of long-term observation in the deep ocean does not exist yet. So where does this leave us? After over 150 years of study, thousands of specimens examined, multiple groundbreaking observations in the wild, and cutting-edge genetic analysis, what do we actually know about giant squids? The answer is both humbling and exciting. We know a lot more than we did even a decade ago. We know they are not aggressive monsters. We know they are smaller than we thought. We know their eyes are specialized for detecting predators. We know their blood is blue and their beaks are engineering marvels. We know they are probably more common than we realize. But we still do not know where they reproduce. We still have not witnessed them feeding. We still do not fully understand their intelligence or their social behavior if they have any. We still cannot explain why their genome is so complex. We still have not figured out how many distinct species of giant squid actually exist. For every question we have answered, we have uncovered 2 or 3 new mysteries, and that is what makes the giant squid so fascinating. This is not a creature from the age of dinosaurs preserved unchanged for millions of years. This is a highly evolved, highly adapted predator living in our oceans right now. It is the largest invertebrate on Earth, a creature that has inspired legends and nightmares for centuries. Yet despite living in the same world as us, sharing the same planet, it remains almost completely mysterious. The giant squid is a reminder that Earth still has secrets. The ocean still has wonders we have barely begun to explore. What do you think is the most fascinating thing about giant squids? Is it their enormous eyes that can spot predators from hundreds of feet away? their lightning-fast tentacles that strike faster than a boxer's punch, or the fact that after all these years of study, we still do not know where they go to reproduce? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to explore more mysteries of the deep ocean, check out our video on colossal squids, where we compare these two titans of the abyss and reveal which one would win in a fight. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.